Dr. Randall, the Soul Doctor, author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet, shares her 40 years of experience as a cross-cultural practitioner, medical futurist, and expert in 20 different modalities of healing, along with amazing interviews with some of the leading minds in medicine and big thinkers in all walks of life. The stories of our lives are the woven energies of our soul's paths. They feed and ignite the spiritual light that nourishes the universal soul, the one mind, the cosmic consciousness where we all come together. This podcast is going to be a deep dive into the personal stories of people who have made significant contributions to the planet. What formed them? What moved them to become these leaders and innovators that inspire us so? Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Dr. Randall.
I'm just thrilled to have you on. Caroline Bordreaux is an amazing person. She heads up the Miracle Foundation, which is a top-rated nonprofit organization which empowers orphans and vulnerable children to reach their full potential. I'm just so impressed by her. She is also a leader in the movement to reunite children with their families, a revolution that is growing worldwide. And her latest initiative, Foster Share, is a phone and desktop app that prevents foster children from bouncing from home to home and decreases the dropout rate of foster parents and brings a greater stability to foster care and the ecosystem of that. I want to unpack that more with you later. That's unbelievable. As an authority on the social entrepreneurship field, Caroline has received a variety of awards, almost too numerous to mention: the Hope Award, the Impact Award, and the United Nations Humanitarian Award. Caroline has spoken for the World Economic Forum, Women's Leadership Forum, Young Presidents Organization, and the UBS Philanthropy Day, in addition to TEDx, to name a few. What is that? Tell me what that UBS stands for again.
It's a bank from Switzerland, and they care about children that are separated from their families because their clients care about children who are separated from their families. So we partnered with UBS Bank on a number of initiatives to reunite children that are separated.
That's just marvelous.
Isn't that great?
It's so great. Yeah. So one of these days I'm going to see Nobel Prize on here. Caroline's a young global leader with the World Economic Forum and has completed executive programs at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, Yale's Jackson Institute for Diplomacy, and the India School of Business and Oxford. Wow, that's quite a pedigree too. She is an incredible speaker. She speaks about, if anybody wants a speaker, you want her on your forum. She speaks about reimagining philanthropy, social impact versus charity, social entrepreneurship, creating social change for the for-profit sector. She's been endorsed by amazing people. Just let it be said. You want to mention any of them specifically?
Some of the children we work with, those are the kind of the people that I like to be thought of highly by.
Exactly. I wish we had a soundbite of one of those. Maybe you can get those to me before we edit this, because I would love to play that.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
I also want to mention she's been interviewed for her work by a variety of media, including Forbes, USA Today, CNN, the Chicago Tribune, UNICEF, Elle, People, Rolling Stones magazine, Thrive Global, Maria Shriver, and the Rockefeller Foundation. Wow. Amazing. So how do you get in the Rolling Stones magazine, Caroline?
You become part of the Global Citizen Festival, which is a festival that they do every year. And they talk about the global goals, the 17 goals that the United Nations put together in 2015. And there's these 17 goals, and we've all agreed that if we can hit these goals, we'll have a planet that works for everyone. So
Awesome.
Coldplay did a concert at the Global Citizen Festival, and Miracle Foundation was the beneficiary of that Coldplay concert. And that is how you get in Rolling Stone
Awesome.
magazine. Yeah.
So where can we find, is this from the last meeting? Global.
No, the last Global Citizen Festival. No, this was 2 years ago.
Well, let's unpack that thing about foster care. That's really interesting to me. But first, tell me, how did you get into this? What happened? How did you get into?
Yeah, I had a career in television before I ever started this kind of work, but I really got tired of it. I was an executive at a TV station, and it was just a really kind of a grueling working for the man corporate kind of company that I could not thrive there. I just was not happy there at all. And so I was living in Austin, Texas. I went to happy hour with my best friend, and she and I decided that we were going to quit our jobs and travel and just get on the road, just, take off, two single girls. And so we started, we wanted to do a trip around the world. So we started off going to Africa, and she wanted to go to India because she'd been sponsoring a little boy and she wanted to go meet him. And that is why we ended up in India. And we went to a very remote village in the middle of nowhere, very deep interior India in the state of Odisha. And we met the little boy she'd been sponsoring in good faith. And we could not believe that he was real. I mean, I didn't believe for a second. Until I saw his face, I was not going to believe that that her money was going where she thought it was going. But it was amazing. And so we started
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was honestly shocked. And so we started doing volunteer work there every day. And then on Mother's Day, of that year, it was May the 14th of 2000. That's the day that my whole life changed, because I was doing volunteer work for these people that I thought were the poorest of the poor. I thought they were the bottom of the pyramid. And I was so honored to be working with them. But we got invited to a dinner by a local resident, and we agreed to go. So we got up in the morning. I got up in the morning, called my mom for Mother's Day, went and worked in the village all day. It was 119 degrees that day, hot in the middle of May, and went to this guy's house for dinner and walked into his orphanage.
Wow.
And met 110 filthy, bald, empty looking children. I'd never seen anything so sad in all my life. And we had dinner with them. We had a beautiful Hindu prayer service with them. And then after dinner, we were holding them and loving on them and just spending some time with these children. And this little baby girl came and put her head on my knee, and I picked her up to sing her a lullaby and rock her to sleep. And she fell asleep in my arms, and I went to put her in her room, and I walked into her room. Dr. Randall, I found these 30 wooden beds. No sheets, no mattresses, these splintered, like picnic tables. And I put that orphan baby on a wooden bed on Mother's Day. And it was the saddest sound I ever heard in my life. I could not believe I was hearing her bones hit that bed on Mother's Day. And I just thought right there and then, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. I will not stand by and allow children to live like this. I wouldn't let a dog live like this. And so started the Miracle Foundation that very day, because I knew that they were miracles. The potential in their eyes was just huge. And they all wanted to have what I had, which was someone to help me empower me to reach my full potential, which is what you read as our mission. Our mission is to empower children to reach their full potential, not to feed every orphan around the world 10 times, but to enable children to reach their full potential. And what we've learned over the years is the best way for children that are separated from their families to reach their full potential is to get them back into a family. That is where they thrive. They don't thrive in a great orphanage. They thrive with a family. And so that is our goal, is a family for every child in our lifetime.
Beautiful. You just gave me goosebumps about 10 times.
And so, we started working with orphan children, getting children from orphanages into their families. We've been very successful at that. We've partnered with the state of Texas. We partnered with the state of some of the states in India to prevent children from ever entering the system in the first place. And then most recently, we've partnered with the state of Texas to try some technology in the foster care space to see if we can keep children that are in the foster care system from bouncing from home to home to home. Because the average child in the U.S. foster system has 7 foster families.
Right.
7. I mean, 7?
I know.
That means some of them have 25.
Mm-hmm.
So why are these children bouncing? Children need to be safely and permanently placed. And so that is our goal, is to a family for every child in our lifetime. Doesn't matter where that child lives, whether it's an orphanage in India or Bulgaria or in the foster care system in the United States or the UK.
That's beautiful. So is that app that you mentioned, or I mentioned?
Yeah. So we got to spend some really good couple of years just researching, and we found that 60% of foster families quit within the first year. So we took a good hard look and interviewed a lot of those foster families, like, why did you quit? What happened that you could not continue to raise this kid? What was it? Because, by the way, they recruit 1,000 people to be foster parents. 100 of them go through the process. 10 of them get a child, and then 60% leave within the first year. I mean, this recruiting wheel is just not working. And so we really wanted to do some research. We did great research, because in research, anybody knows, you don't just look at why the 60% stayed. You look at why, left. You look at why the 40% stayed. What did the 40% have that everybody else did not? What was it about this 40% that kept them stable? And one of the things that we learned that kept those families stable was a case manager that could come alongside them and support them. So then we went and started looking at case managers. We started interviewing case managers. We started understanding the unbelievably difficult job of case managers. I mean, these are some real heroes. We make heroes out of foster families, and the case managers are heroes too. They are working so hard, but they never had any way. So, for example, a foster family has to fill out a journal entry for every child that they foster every day. So you're a parent and you have to write a journal entry for your child every day. Now, the case manager, who has 60 to 80 cases, gets 60 to 80 emails every day, and she's supposed to read all those emails and figure out which ones are in trouble and how she can support them all. It's not prioritized for her. So our app has some artificial intelligence in it. The families fill out their journal entry with an emoticon. It's a red face, green face, yellow face. It's very easy. Touch of a button. If it's a red face and your child had problems, you fill out a little bit of information, and that information goes to the case manager. So the case manager can prioritize the red cases. They can prioritize people that need some support. And it's saving them right now. They're saying, 3 hours a week right now is what they're saying. It's saving them in time. And so this is just the beginning of our work in the foster care system, but we definitely need reform. We know we need some reform. And so that's what Miracle Foundation's willing and ready to do, is spend some time on supporting foster families and supporting case managers, the main people that are working with these children.
Awesome. So tell me, like, what areas you cover. I mean, obviously you're working in India, you're working in Texas, you're working in Louisiana, I guess, or is it everywhere?
Working in the United States, working in India. And then we have partnered with other organizations that are working in other parts of the world. So Miracle Foundation's part of a collective. There's 156 of us. We're all working on the same goal, the goal of reuniting children with their families, a family for every child in our lifetime. 156 organizations and Miracle are working together to make that happen. So while Miracle's charged with India and the United States, there are other partners that are charged with Kenya and Uganda and South America, and many people working in the foster care in the United States. So it's like-minded actors acting, and that is how we change the social fabric. It's like-minded actors acting, because governments can't do it, markets can't do it, religions aren't doing it, individuals are not doing it. It's collective impact that's going to make the biggest difference in the future.
I agree with you 100%. And that
Right?
goes for more than orphans. I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's really the Achilles heel of the nonprofit space is being able to work together because it's very difficult to do. So the fact that there's 156 of us that are working together is a pretty amazing thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's why I want to take some lessons from you, because it's collective, like-minded people and collective consciousness is going to lift us out of this mess. So,
and when it's a collective, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 = 11.
Exactly.
That's the power of collective impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you're just amazing role model in that regard. So I helped a kid who was an orphan. He was born. He had a disability. He was born without legs, caudal regression syndrome. So you can imagine how many houses he bounced between. He ended up being an amazing athlete, which is his high school.
Amazing.
Yeah, coach recognized, and luckily because of that, he's now, he's written a book and he's a pretty famous little guy, but not everybody gets those kind of breaks. So even so, it was rough on him.
I will tell you that for every child that has a great story like that, most of them can say, I had somebody that helped me.
That's right.
They're not pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps. They're not able to do that as children. Mm-hmm. They are dependent on us to help pull them up. And so there is this rallying cry to take a stand for somebody like you did for him. You took a stand for him. Mm-hmm. That's what children need. One of the things we've learned, dealing with tens of thousands of children, is all they need is one person. Mm-hmm. Really, if one person comes alongside of them, they can make it. They can. Well,
he had his coach, but he had his mom. He gives a lot of credit to his mom, who basically gave him stability. Finally, in a home.
Yeah, beautiful.
But, yeah, she has a bunch of other kids too, because she's that kind of person. But yeah, he's pretty famous. His name is Zion. You might want to check him out.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, he's pretty famous. Anyway, so you're right, and there's those people that don't get those chances, but they need to have a chance too. So thank God for you and people like you and organizations like you. Is there some way where on your website or something we can see the other 156 organizations?
No, we partner under an alliance called Better Care Network. Better Care Network. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we're all listed, and we all go to Better Care Network. We share our best practices. We share the work that we're doing. We share our programs, and we can all share with each other at that network. And Miracle Foundation is a part of that network.
Well, that in and of itself is an incredible, example for us all to follow, because collaboration is not always, that seamless, it's
definitely not.
Get everybody to get along and to share everything. That's so beautiful. That's the key, right?
Absolutely the key. Absolutely the key. And it's one thing for the nonprofit organizations. That's awesome. What the nonprofit organizations need, what we all need, is we need monthly supporters. So, I just want to encourage your listeners, no matter what organization you're supporting, I want to encourage you to support them monthly, because there were years where we'd get 40 to 60% of our money in December. That's a very difficult way to do business. I mean, not knowing how many kids you can say yes to. So we have started asking people to sign up to support us monthly. We call it a heartbeat contributor, because it just kind of keeps pulsing. And that's the best way to help any nonprofit organization, is with a monthly contribution, so that they can count on the money, they can budget against it. It flattens out their year. And it's just a powerful way to make a difference.
Tell us how we can do that.
You can go to miraclefoundation.org and sign up to become a heartbeat contributor. And in exchange, you get meetings with me. You get invited to our webinars. You get invited to meet the children. It's awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I'd like to meet more people like you. So, it seems like you've, I often ask people, well, what's next? But it seems like you've accomplished a lot of what's next. Do you have a what's next?
What's next is Miracle Foundation going out of business. But there is an opportunity to solve this. When a child gets permanently placed safely in a family, our work is done. And right now there's about 8.5 million children that are separated from their parents. That's a lot of children. But with the 156 organizations and with people supporting us on a monthly basis, we believe that we can go out of business by 2040. And that is our goal. Nonprofits shouldn't be around forever. We want to close our doors and say done.
But there's always more children.
There definitely are more children. But this is so powerful.
Please.
What happened in the past was that a nonprofit organization like Miracle Foundation or any of the 156 of us would, if you're walking down the street and you see a baby drowning in the river, the only appropriate response is to jump in the river and save the baby. That's what I did with Shibani Das. I saw these children that were sleeping on wooden beds. I jumped in the river and I started saving that baby. And then I see another baby drowning and I save that baby. And I see another baby drowning and I save that baby. And nonprofits got so busy working on the symptom that we never took a step back and said, no, who's throwing these babies in the river in the first place? What is it that's causing these children to fall into the system? That's where Miracle Foundation and these organizations get to work now. We get to work on what they call systems change. Another way to think about it is root cause. How can we prevent children from entering the system in the first place? So while we're very busy supporting foster families and supporting case managers and supporting children that are in orphanages that want to go home and supporting families that take them, another big part of our mission is to prevent children from entering the system in the first place, because we argue the minute they enter the system, the damage is done. And so if we can work on root cause and we can stay focused on systems change, then we can solve the problem. We can solve it and not let any more kids get thrown in the river. Now, that said, I'm not saying no kid ever, but I'm saying not to this extent and not for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to fix the problem. It's another really another big reason we ask people to donate monthly, because this way we are allowed to focus on the root cause instead of always just focusing on the symptom.
Well, you don't know how much I love that, because I'm a functional medicine doctor, and
right.
Root cause is what it's all about.
It's the name of the game. It's the name of the game. Yeah.
So it's not about all big pharma and all this other stuff. It's figuring out, why.
Exactly. So, in the United so one of the things that's happening in the United States is that we aren't necessarily trained on the difference between neglect and poverty. So just because a child is living with their family and they're living on a mattress that's on the floor and there's rats, and that doesn't mean that this child is being abused. It might mean that the family is in need of help. And what can we do to go alongside that mother and help her get these children better off instead of just taking them out of the family? Our approach has been to rescue, I'm using air quotes, rescue children from their own family.
Mm-hmm.
It's malpractice.
Yeah. That's always bothered me, actually.
Yeah. And, one of the things we're learning in the developing world is that what we're doing in reuniting children, they're coming from orphanages and they're going into their own family. So their grandmother, their great aunt, their cousin, their sister, they're doing this thing called kinship care, and it's working and they are sticking. And in America, we're using foster care and we're taking children and we're putting them with virtual strangers. Mm-hmm. And we haven't asked, are you athletes and you're a musician? Are you an introvert and you're an extrovert? I mean, is there any kind of chemistry that we're talking about at all? And so that's the power of using their own families. The other thing, in the United States, in some states, if you are a family member of a child that needs placement, you do not get support from the government. If you're a stranger and you're a foster parent, you get support. But if you're related to the child in any way, you don't get any financial support. I mean, there's just some things that we need to change in the system in the United States. That would be some pretty easy fixes. Another one is, change the age from 18 to 21. I mean, who said kids were done at 18 years old? I ask people, how many times have you talked to your mom since you were 18?
No, their brains aren't even fully developed
They're
yet.
not. They're not.
It
And so
takes,
if we could just change some of these laws, make sure that children are only taken out of their families when necessary. When they're taken out of their families, if they can be placed with another person in their family that's deemed safe. And I'll tell you who knows, Dr. Randall. I'll tell you who knows exactly where they can go to be safe, and that is the children.
mm-hmm.
They know. They know.
Yeah.
We work with girls as young as 6 and boys as young as 8 that decide their own placement. They decide their placement, not some
Mm-hmm.
random case manager that's never met them.
That's great. They allow that?
Absolutely. One of the rights of the child is to be heard and participate in decisions that affect them. And I can't imagine a decision that affects them more than where they live,
Right.
with whom they live. And so, yeah, that's what we ask them to do. We ask them to tell us, who do you think you'll be safe with? Who would you like to live with? Who are you safe with? They usually know. And then the other question we ask them is, who would you like to call if there's a problem? So instead of us depending on somebody that they don't know and they're supposed to call some stranger, they say, I'm going to call Mrs. Black, my first grade teacher. That's who I want to call if there's a problem. So you call Mrs. Black, you say, Mrs. Black, she wants to call you if there's a problem. How do you feel about that? They're always so honored. They're always so honored. And they don't sit around waiting for the phone call. They get involved in the child and they start checking on the child and they're making sure. And so you kind of develop a system around the child that protects them. And it's a working model, right? I mean, it works. Yeah.
It takes a community, right? A village, right?
It takes a village, and it takes a child having the right to make a decision for themselves, because that also helps them be part and parcel of making it work. Mm-hmm. When they made part of the decision, they have to make sure that it works as well as everybody else, instead of just kind of, maybe, being a victim of the circumstance instead of being a participant in the circumstance.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I happen to be involved because some people that work for me, Child Protective got involved and we're going to take the kids away. The last thing they should do is take their kids away from this woman. She's like the best mom in the entire world. She's got 9 kids, some of them foster, she adopted, but it just takes a call and they're so unreasonable,
Well, yeah, I mean, it is their job to make sure kids are safe. I mean, that is the job.
But they go over the top.
Yeah, they often do that. And the definition of safe needs to be reexamined. So when we talk about prevention, what we're talking about is training the social workforce, training that person that you're talking about that has to go into the family and make this decision. They need some training. They need some support. They need to know the difference between neglect and abuse and poverty.
Yeah.
They need the ones that need that kind of community. And, if they need to be taken out of the family, put them with the grandmother, put them with the sister, put them with an aunt, put them with the cousin. I mean, there's so many opportunities for these children.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so right. So I just wanted to ask you what happened in India during COVID? How'd that affect you guys?
Well, it actually played into our hands pretty well. I mean, the bad news is obviously they have more orphans now. More children are separated. More children lost parents, and so they have more children. However, a lot of children were in orphanages before because their parents were poor, and 64% of children in the country of India that lived in orphanages now are home. So Miracle Foundation is working to keep them home. So it's
Fabulous.
really good for the kids. Yeah, it's really good.
So I know this isn't your area, but what about the immigrants coming from Mexico and South America?
Yeah. What we've learned, I'm in New York City, but our corporate headquarters is in Austin, Texas, which is pretty close to the border. Mm-hmm. And so we've gone many times down to the border to take a look at what's happening and see what's going on. And what we've learned is that most of the children that are crossing over and that come in have family members here. They have a number of someone that they can go live with, and that's what's happening. They're moving in with their relatives. So there's not, some of them are sleeping on the floor in the, social worker's office until that family can be located and the children can get to them. But most of the kids, 99% of the children that are crossing the border have somebody here in the United States that they're supposed to come stay with.
Well, that's beautiful. But why do we get these stories about them taking the children away from the parents?
That actually happened. That was, the last few years, they did separate children from their families. They did, and it was not right, and they're not doing that anymore. That was, what an atrocity. What
Oh,
an
good to
atrocity.
hear. Good to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. I was actually quite pleased with how the people are being treated down there. In the south of Texas, in the valley, they call it the valley, they have this beautiful culture. They have lovely people and a beautiful culture, and there was a lot of respect going on. Even the ICE guys, even the guys that work for the government, they look very intimidating. But we would talk to them, and they were very kind to the people. We would be talking with them about something, and then an immigrant would come in, and they'd say, "Oh, are you okay? Do you need some water?" I mean, they were kind. It's really, I don't know why nobody's reporting that. I was so pleased. I was proud of our country, and think other people would be proud of our country on how we're treating people that need help.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Good to report. I was so pleased to report it. Yes.
Yeah. So I know your ultimate thing is you want to close the business, quote unquote. In other words, get every child a home. But what do you see happening in the future? What's your best dream fulfilled?
Oh, I think not only will there be a family for every child in our lifetime, but families will be strengthened. The fabric of the family is really the basis of all of our existence. A good family is, at the end of the day, what can make or break a person. And so it's one thing to get children back in their families. It's another thing to strengthen families and not let them be the scapegoat. A lot of times I hear, "Oh, well, they lost their kids. Who are they?" It's like, they're people that need help just like we are. And so instead of othering them, if we could just accept the fact that they're just like us and they need love and support and care. So family strengthening and children and families, and we won't have as many kids in the foster care system, and we won't have as many kids in orphanages. That's one thing we learned when all those kids went home during COVID. We started working with their family. They should have never been in an orphanage in the first place. They should have never been separated in the first place. Being poor is not a reason to be separated from your family.
Yeah, something you've implied a couple times, just to get to it, is support for children and families, just as if they were foster families. I mean, that they need monetary support too. So is that
sometimes
what you
they need
imply?
monetary support. Sometimes they just need to know how to fill out their paperwork. Sometimes they just need someone to say "attaboy." People, it's really not that hard to figure out what people need. They need a little love and a little attention, and someone to listen to them, somebody to believe in them, someone to be committed to them.
Mm-hmm.
And case managers in the United States have a master's degree in social work. You do not get a master's degree in social work if you don't care about people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
So are you, as your organization, back to the same question, working towards getting support for those families that replace their children with them?
So, no. So that's not a sustainable solution. So Miracle Foundation providing support for families so that they can stay together it's not a sustainable solution. We wouldn't be able to solve the problem. We wouldn't be able to close our doors if we took up that mantle. What we have in India is we have women that are widows or untouchables that can get that can apply for government support. And then in the United States, we do have welfare. We do have we do have some programs that people can apply for that our tax dollars pay for. And so it's not about Miracle Foundation supporting individual families. It's about Miracle Foundation helping families find the kind of support that they need.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get you to say.
Yeah, it's resource mapping. We call it resource mapping.
Yeah. So you do guide them and tell them, because a lot of people, like you said, they don't even know how to fill out a form. So.
Oh, and could we make it any more complicated? I mean, really make it complicated. And they're going to get support as long as they make under a certain amount. So like we want to keep them down. I mean, it's just nuts. There's just some policy work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So do you work with the policymakers on that level?
We definitely have. We haven't in the United States yet because we want to understand some of the policies better. We want to understand what does it cost a state to increase that rate to 21? What does it actually cost a state? And what does it cost if they don't do it? So, right. So a lot of people say that foster care is a pipeline to prison. What are we paying in the prison? What if we can keep people out of prison? What is it worth to the state government? So you do have to look at the economics of it, and we're not quite there. But definitely, you want to know what's happened on the ground, understand what you can do to support your constituency, and then you can go make policies that enable that environment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I tell people that everybody wants the same three things. We all want to love and be loved. We all want our families to be healthy, happy, and taken care of. And we all want to make a difference. And that's really what Miracle Foundation offers people, is an opportunity to make a difference to a kid who needs you. And so, I hope your listeners are inspired and willing to come along with us and support us, because they won't have to do it forever. They just till 2040, and then we could be done, and we don't have to worry about this problem anymore.
That's awesome. I love that goal.
Isn't that a good goal?
It's an awesome goal.
Yeah. And it's a business strategy for how to go out of business by 2040. That is the business strategy that 156 of us are deploying.
That's fantastic. It's great. Well, I just adore you. You're an incredible role model. And I just going to follow you. And
please do. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And if any of your listeners know of anybody we should be talking to, I'd love to know about that. They can email us at Miracle Foundation, and I'd love to start a conversation.
Absolutely. You need to be heard more so we can get more people on your Heartbeat program.
Yes, I'd love that. We'd love that.
Okay. All right, Caroline. So give us your website one more time. And
it's miraclefoundation.org.
Easy. Okay.
Yeah.
And who would they call if they wanted to have you come speak? Or
they can talk to anybody in our whole office. Anybody we're a tight family. There's about 15 of us in the United States office. There's about 90 of us in the India office, or 90 of us total, and about 60 of us in the India office. So, they can just call Miracle Foundation, and any of us will know.
And it's all on the website.
It's all on the website.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been
thank you for the work that you do. Thank you very much. We'd all have better health if we took care of somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I keep trying one at a time in groups or whatever I can do.
Thank you, Dr. Randall.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Gail Randall, creator and host of Soul Stories. I just want to thank you for listening to my podcast. I recently got a notification from the International Podcast People, and I was astounded that so many countries are listening to my podcast in the category of alternative health. So thank you, and please continue to listen. I especially want to thank Egypt, Croatia, Japan, and Switzerland, also France and Ireland, because my numbers were quite high there. So keep up the good work, and check out my Instagram at Dr. Gail Randall, and particularly check out my Instagram TV, where you can hear me talking about alternative medicine subjects and also see me. It's a very good show, and I think you'll like the subjects. It's on 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Friday, but it's recorded there, so you can find it there anytime you look. Okay, thanks again. I love you guys. This is Dr. Gail Randall from Soul Stories, and author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. I want to thank Saltology, our sponsor, at bathsalt.com, which fits perfectly into my medicine bag as it, like me, calls upon the ancient wisdom and modern technology to heal, especially with the stresses and ills of our modern times. The Bokek brand uses organic salts combined with organic essential oils sourced from ancient Egypt to provide a perfect remedy for your bathing ritual and healing from modern stresses. The Relief RX brand is a unique one-of-a-kind healing salt that uses organic CBD, treated with a unique emulsification process to create nanoparticles which easily enter the skin to most effectively heal and relieve aching muscles and joints. Whether from chronic inflammation or just a rough workout, this is the perfect healing bath, especially when you add the organic essential oils of neroli, lavender, eucalyptus, or grapefruit. Your body, mind, and soul will be lifted and soothed like never before. Go now to bathsalt.com. I also want to give special thanks to Larry Antonino and Agora Borealis Recording Studio for music and score, and also to closetotheearth.com for IT and computer assistance. Also supported by Randall Wellness Network, bringing health and wellness to you directly. Medical futurist Dr. Gail Madeleine Randall brings 40-plus years as one of America's most forward-thinking doctors, healers, and emerging authors onto a diverse media platform to empower our paths to health, wellness, increased consciousness, and vitality. Gail Madeleine Randall, MD, has long practiced, taught, and encouraged patients to take control of their healing processes and journeys. Randall Wellness Network provides a 360-degree platform for people to heal themselves, and she most emphasizes regenerative approaches for healing individuals, communities, and the planet as one. For more information, go to drgmrandall.com and Instagram at drgailrandall, and check out the robust Instagram series on Instagram TV, also Facebook, Randall Wellness, and also Dr. Gail Randall.